welcome to 216, a Link to the Past Randomizer podcast. I am your host, Fear Agent. Today on the show, we've got Relkin completing the League admin circle on the show. Final admin from the League to be on the show. Had a really fun conversation with Relkin. I was really glad to talk with Relkin. He's a really cool dude. And we just had a good time chatting. So this is a good one. So this is going to be the season 3 finale. I've been pretty open and honest on the show about mental health and the importance of trying to maintain a healthy mentality and ways that you can better yourself mentally. It's a lifelong struggle, really, to continue to maintain your health mentally. And so I'm going to share a little bit and be honest and real about what's going on and kind of share where I am at and why the show is ending with this episode for this season. I'm a pretty emotionally driven person. I hate that about myself. I know a lot of my passion, it comes from that, but I'm very emotionally driven and it's really frustrating if I'm being honest. It's frustrating to be driven by your emotions and to have your emotions take the wheel so often. It's hard when you don't like that about yourself as well. Struggle with self-worth, and that doesn't really help with it as well. And the holidays are tough for a lot of people, myself included, even in a loving household. I love my kids and I love my wife and they love me and a good relationship with my parents. And I don't have a lot to complain about. And yet it's still a struggle. And that's kind of the hard part about dealing with mental health is there doesn't necessarily need to be a cause. It doesn't have to be cause and effect. It could just kind of happen. On the last show, I talked a little bit about my frustrations with the admins and the situation that we had going on with the League with the need for an async. Now, let me step back because that was the last show I did, but there's been 2 shows that have come out since then. I do want to shout out PH and Lumaga and everyone else that volunteered to do the intros for me while I was sick. Thank you so much. It was such a huge relief for me. Getting sick again during the holidays isn't fun and can, kind of get back to what I was talking about with the mental health where it's like a slog. But huge shout outs to PH and huge shout outs to Lumaga for filling in for me on those couple of episodes. And apologies to both Rick and Scary Olive for not being able to do the intros for those shows. Loved chatting with both those guys, and I hope everyone enjoyed those episodes. But back to the matters at hand. So my team ran into a bit of an issue with the League admins, and their response wasn't my favorite. They relented to our requests and allowed us to async, and Ramon and I got the win. But the whole situation just left me feeling down. Like I just was super bummed out about all of it. Like getting into it with my friends from the League admins, and then having to try to balance it with my teammates and my friends that we were playing against, Moogle Charm and Jula Ninja. I am a people pleaser. I don't care what people think. That's been since I was a kid, but I am a people pleaser for the people that I am close to or friends with. And so trying to balance it all out between my friends that are playing, my friends that are admins, and then everyone kind of getting mad at each other. And, it's just frustrating. It's not fun. And it kind of just put a whole damper on everything. I haven't really talked with the League admins since. I hope that they're not too upset at the way the 2 teams handled it. They might be. I don't know. I think the hard part was when they said right away, just no. It wasn't the fact that we couldn't do it. It was the fact that they were unwilling to even entertain the idea. I think the approach that they should have had was, we don't want you guys to do an async, but let's do everything we can to find a way to race and then cross that path. But the answer was just a flat out no. And then it changed to a yes. So I don't know. It was just frustrating. And so we won that series, and then we went 3-0 against Willard and JP's team. And, the League is supposed to be fun. And, I like Willard a lot. He was on the show. I had a great conversation with him. I like GP. They have another team member that I had to race, and it was not a fun race. I guess that happens when you race people in the community. You come across people that are, for some reason, hostile towards you. I don't know. It just added to the emotional response that I have. I can be a dick. I can be wrong. I can be a lot of things. I can also own up to a lot of it as well. So maybe coming in on the podcast and like putting the admins on blast isn't the way to go about it. And so for that, I apologize. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm just kind of bummed out about a lot of things in this community. And I'm just not having that great of a time. And so I need to take a break. I need to just go away, to kind of recharge my batteries and reset and see if I can change my outlook and mentality on things when it comes to rando. Because the game is supposed to be fun. And I really like talking to people in this community for this podcast. I really enjoy that aspect. But the podcast also is a lot of work. And, you know, it's another thing where it's like, I know that people are listening and downloading, but there hasn't been a lot of feedback. I tried to do a thing this season with the bonus episodes. Nobody's listening to the bonus episodes. It didn't work. It didn't drive up sub numbers and it didn't lead to people listening to it. I think between all the episodes, there's maybe like 6 downloads. So it's hard not to get discouraged. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I want 216 to be a positive place. I really do. I want 216 to be a place that's full of positivity. And I'm not the most positive right now. And so I need to reassess. I need to get my mental health in the right spot. And I need to readjust my outlook on the community and all that. So I've got league races that I'm committed to. My team, the Divine Beastie Boys, is in the conference finals against OK Dudes. And I'm really looking forward to that. Those are our friends over there with GGW, Telethar, and Hitsu. So I've got at least one more league race commitment. But I'm not going to be streaming other than those league races. I'm going to take a break from playing the game. I'm going to take a break from Link to the Past randomizer for a little bit. Again, I just need to readjust and kind of get my mental health corrected. That also means that I won't be hosting the 216 weeklies going forward. We had a nice turnout for the last one. It was Cross Keys with Chaos Boss Randomizer that WinFox had chosen. If anyone wants to continue going forward hosting the 216 weeklies, they have my blessings. But as I take a break, I just would also have to take a break from that. Again, I appreciate everyone for hanging out. I appreciate everyone for playing and enjoying and having fun with those because they were a lot of fun. So I'm going to go away for a little bit. I'm going to recharge and then we'll see what the future holds. Again, this is just me being honest. I'm a super open dude. I like to be honest about what's going on and who I am and the struggles. Like life can be tough sometimes and the video game should be an escape and it has not been. So yeah, that's just kind of where things are at. We do appreciate everyone listening, do appreciate everyone, hanging out and yeah, we'll see what the future holds. But for today, we've got Relkin on the show and conversations that I had with Relkin, what happened in early December. So it was all before any nonsense happened. And yeah, I learned a lot from Relkin. I really like talking with Relkin. He's a good dude and he's really good at the game. Talk a lot about his kind of win streak that he's been going on the last year and a half or so. So let's get to that. Let's get to that conversation with Relkin. All right, Relkin, here we go. You're the last of the league admins to be on the 216 podcast. Super excited to have you on the show and to hear your story, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. It's funny that it took this long for all the league admins to get added, but I figured eventually it would happen. So no worry on my end.
Yeah, I had the league admins going like, you better have Relkin on the show or we're going to kick you out of the league. And I was like, no, I'm just kidding. It just, the show kind of lines up the way it does. I was excited to talk to you, especially because we're so recently coming off of your SGL win, right? Like,
yeah.
So we'll get into all that stuff, but I mean, you're a freaking champ, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that I was able to win 2 SGLs. I thought one was crazy enough, but 2, like, come on, man.
It's bananas. I feel like you and I know each other pretty well because of our involvement with the league and you becoming an admin and all that kind of stuff, but I don't feel like we've really had a chance to talk, really. So I'm really excited to hear your story because I don't know a lot of your backstory other than you're a young buck. That's about all I know.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell with the numbers at the end of my Twitch stream name and all that, yeah, I'm quite a bit younger than most of the people in the rando community, I would think.
Just a kid, man. All right, so let's start with your your history with gaming. What did you start playing? What was your early memories of gaming, and were you doing a lot of gaming as a kid?
Yeah, so when I was about like 4 or 5 years old, I think my oldest sister had a Game Boy Color, and I know I would always like when I saw her playing it, I was like, oh man, I want to play that too. And so I guess I would borrow it from her for the time being. And I was always wanting to play the Game Boy as a kid growing up. And so my parents got me a Game Boy Color for my Christmas when I was 5 years old. And so from then on, I just kind of took off with like Nintendo systems and all that.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember that first game on the Game Boy Color that really like hooked you?
Yeah, it was I think it was Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. It's basically like the Game Boy Color version of like the old NES Super Mario Bros.
Right. That's so funny. I remember that. It's the Super Mario Deluxe though was kind of awkward because of like the screen crop. I think I could be wrong, but it feels like it's different than the regular Super Mario Brothers in the way it's presented.
Yeah, I myself actually have never played the NES Mario Bros. But I know we didn't own a NES or SNES when I was growing up. But yeah, I do agree with you on the shape of like how everything looked on the Game Boy Color. Mm-hmm. After having seen the NES gameplay, and so it seemed a lot narrower and like it seemed like you can see less.
Sure. Did you play A Link to the Past on the Game Boy at all then, or was that your first experience with Link to the Past?
No, I think my first experience with Link to the Past would have been just like seeing bits and pieces of it at a like a Games Done Quick kind of marathon. And
so you have no history with it then. There's no like, I was playing it as a kid. Oh, okay.
No, not at all. I've only seen bits and pieces of like the glitch kind of speedruns that I've seen Andy do at some of the GDQs, and then what really got me hooked into Randomizer was seeing a group of Let's Players that are called the Runaway Guys do this charity marathon stream back in, was it like May of 2018? They did a ALTTPR race, and it was kind of off the wall, just really, really silly because they did a bunch of donation incentives to make things harder for the players. And so it wasn't really taken super seriously, but I was like, wait, what? I've seen this game a little bit and I know a little bit about it, but this does not look anything at all like what I've seen.
Wow. So the Game Boy Color was your first kind of system then. What came after that? Was it GameCube or?
It was the Nintendo 64. When I was, I think soon after I got a Game Boy. I think maybe a year after that I got an N64 for Christmas. So yeah. And that was the system I really got to spend a lot of time with.
Right, because you're a big Mario guy, right? Like you used the Mario Sprite and super into Mario. Was Mario 64 a big influential game for you?
Yeah. That was the first N64 game that I had, and I played that a ton. I played like Mario Kart 64, the Mario Party games on the N64, Super Smash Bros. I was for a bit. I was also into like competitive Smash Bros. With Melee, but that came a lot longer, a lot later down the line.
Did you stick with Nintendo, or did you start moving on to other stuff, computer games or PlayStation or Xbox as you kind of got older?
No, not really. I did try and play some other game like Xbox or PlayStation games, but I never really was wowed by them. You know what I mean? It was just like Mario just really had this special connection, like the Nintendo Mario games kind of thing like that. Those just resonated with me, and I couldn't get away from them. Like I got the GameCube, I got the Wii. Haven't gotten a Switch or a Wii U yet, but maybe someday I'll get one of those.
What do you think it was about Mario? Was it just the lighthearted gameplay, or? Yeah,
lighthearted gameplay. The platforming was one of my big hooks there. I'm a pretty big into platform puzzle games. Not so much into like combat heavy games like first person shooters or anything like that. So.
Sure. So Mario stuck his flag in the Relkin camp pretty early on. Where was Zelda in all of this? Were you playing Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and stuff, or was it mostly Mario?
It was mostly Mario, but yes, I did play both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask as a kid. Not nearly as much as the Mario games, although me and my oldest sister did eventually beat Ocarina of Time together. We kind of made this project trying to beat the game because we couldn't figure out how to do a lot of dungeons. And so it was just like, took turns trying our best, trying to get through it. And we finally did get through it. I think I was the one that ended up solving a lot of the puzzles in the long run. But so Zelda was a bit there, but it wasn't nearly as much as Mario.
Sure. It's funny to think back on those times because this is obviously pre-internet where you just go to YouTube and figure out all the stuff when you get stuck, or there's tutorials or what, back in the 64 days, if you wanted anything, you'd either get like Nintendo Power or one of those like Prima books or something. I can't remember what they're called, like guidebooks, which I never bought myself, but it's like you really did have to just like figure it out on your own or talk to your friends and see if they kind of had any like clues on how to figure things out as well.
Yeah, and that was the big problem for us. We did, I think GameFAQs was a thing around then, so we could look up some guides on there, and I think we did end up doing that for a couple things. But yeah, sure. I get that. Like it was like, man, I got to really use my brain, my child brain, to try and figure things out.
Yep, totally. As I know you now, you are someone who's like, when you invest your time in something, you get really good at it, right? Like we'll get to like your NMG stuff and your rando career and stuff, but you're someone who's like very, I guess, focused and driven to like better themselves. Did that happen when you were a kid as well? Were you playing these games like trying to be better than you were before, or were they just a form of entertainment?
I think they were mostly a form of entertainment. I still was like, as I am today, I'm still pretty competitive. And so like when I would play party games or, battle
Smash
games,
Bros.
or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, Smash Bros. Or Mario Party. I would try and win, because that's just how I am. But I don't think I took playing casually or just playing other games, like single player games. I don't think I took them that seriously. It was just more of a casual thing. And then, but now I think today I pretty much only play games to like better myself or like really try and push my limits.
Right. Were you into any speedruns, or did you watch any speedruns early on, or when did you first kind of get into the idea of watching and doing speedruns yourself?
Let me think. I think speedruns were basically I think I started looking into speedruns and speedrun kind of content like TASes or something like that, like 2012, 2013. I was playing Super Monkey Ball and I was like, man, this is a really fun game. I wonder how fast you could play this game and like how risky it would be to try and play fast. And so I tried to look up on YouTube, like, speed run Super Monkey Ball. And I saw videos of like GDQ 2013, Miles doing his Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 speed runs. And I was like, wow, I wonder if there's more content like this out there. And sure enough, there's around that time, that's, that year and a year after, lots of great speedrunning content coming from like GDQs and all that.
Right. So at this time, when you're talking about Super Monkey Ball, are you doing competitive Smash, like the Melee stuff that you're talking about?
Almost. It was about a year. It was 2015, like all throughout 2015. My one of my best friends growing up introduced me to the Smash Bros for the Wii U, and he had actually started entering local tournaments in the place where we grew up. He started competing in those and doing really well. And so when I heard about this from him, I was kind of curious about myself, just because I thought, I like Smash Bros games. Maybe I could, hold my own in 1v1s. And turns out, the scrub that I was did not realize what I was in for. And so I was like, oh shoot, there's so many more people better than me. I gotta really put time in to get better if I can beat anyone. And so it kind of took off from there. For the next 3 or 4 years, I dabbled in both Super Smash Bros. Melee and Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U. And once I started realizing that I wasn't able to invest as much time as I would need to have gotten really good, I said, okay, I think this is just not for me. I think I need to focus somewhere else. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago when I realized that. Okay.
So when you're doing these tournaments, can you tell me a little bit more about them? Because you said your friend was doing them locally. Were you doing them locally as well, or was it online stuff?
It was all pretty much locally. Whenever I didn't go to college in the same like area where I grew up, so I couldn't go to the same tournaments that he was like year round. I can only, like, when I was off during the summers, I was home, I could go to those tournaments. But during the, like, when I was in university, we hosted our own Melee tournaments and Smash Bros for Wii U tournaments, but it was the comparison is way different because in the where I grew up, which is the Dallas area, the competition was way fiercer. But where I went to college is vastly different. I was actually like the big fish in a small pond there.
Okay.
And so I think that may have also contributed a bit to how I couldn't improve my skill level. It's just because I wasn't facing anyone better more often than not. And that's usually how you get better is you play people that are better than you, learn from them, you know, pick up on their habits and do all those sorts of things to adapt and improve your own skills. But that was just, that wasn't an avenue for me where I was participating in these tournaments.
So did you find yourself not enjoying it as much then because it wasn't as competitive, or did you just enjoy being on top?
No, I enjoyed being on top. It was fun to at least play the game and, you know, win tournaments. I think that was still fun. I think it's just knowing that there's much more to what I was doing than with the small pond I was playing in. Yeah, it was like that was the big, like, okay, this is really weighing on me. Do I really want to get better, or do I just want to stick with what I'm doing, or do I want to doing something else? But yeah,
I find the fighting game genre and the people that are into it fascinating because I'm just so bad at fighting games. Like, it definitely takes a different skill. Like, I talked to Magnet Hands a little bit on season 1 about some of his fighting game days. And I didn't know this about you. Are you a Mario player as well for Smash?
Sadly, no. But
okay.
Yeah. For Melee, I mained Marth. And every now and then I would try and like maybe learn a different character like Fox or Falco. Like, I don't know if you know much about Melee, but Fox and Falco are like the big top tier characters in that game.
Okay.
Yeah. Marth is also pretty top tier, but not nearly as top tier as Fox and Falco. Either way, no, I did not play Mario. I played Marth. And then in the Smash Bros. For the Wii U, I played Rob. It's the robot character. Yeah, and I don't know. I think there was way too many characters in Smash 4 for me to like really bother trying to learn all the ins and outs of how to play against all of them. And so that one I took a little less seriously than Melee.
When you're playing these fighting games, does it take you a while to find the character that you resonate with?
Yeah, I think it can. I think it can take maybe, you know, a year, probably around a year. Especially if you're playing the Smash 4 game, because there's so much out there, like so many characters, so many options. Melee may not take nearly as long just because, you know, there's already been a lot done with the game. It's been out for way longer and there's more known. And so with all the information out there, you have less to work with in Melee. But in like Smash 4 and then the now Smash Ultimate, you've got way too much information to deal with. I think information overload is easy to succumb to.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Going back to the Super Monkey Ball for a second, and you said you kind of looked up like speedruns and kind of first got the idea of speedruns and stuff like that. Did you then attempt to do speedruns in Super Monkey Ball?
I actually did, yes. I created an IRC account because everything was done through SRL, you know, even back then. And yeah, I don't remember if I don't know if I'm able to recover those race info, but I did participate in a couple of Super Monkey Ball, like I think Super Monkey Ball 1 races. And I remember doing like 2 or 3 of those. And then I kind of just lost interest after that. I don't know. I was in it because I think the big thing for me is like, I knew that people could stream their races, but I didn't know how to stream back then. So I just kind of did everything. And then I was like, okay, this is kind of, I don't know, this seems to be too much work to put into try and just do races. So I'm just going to go back to doing what I was doing when playing Mama Mario games.
So let me ask you this, because I know that you're a sports guy as well. Where do you think your competitive edge comes from? Did that start when you were younger?
Yeah, that's a good thing you bring that up, because I did actually play a few sports as a kid. I played basketball for 1 year, and then I played baseball for 4 years. Oh, okay. Yeah, and baseball I was better at. I'm still not good at basketball. Like I don't know how people do it, but baseball I got really into. and knew the ins and outs of it, playing it, and I was able to. I think it's more of a strategic game in baseball, just because you have more time to think about things, and yeah. So I was one of the better players on our team. I wasn't like little league caliber, but I was like, it was like a YMCA league kind of thing, and
okay.
I do remember enjoying playing baseball as a kid. I didn't want to continue on with it. Just I think I wasn't too into playing sports, but that was still like a more of a fun thing that I did. And yes, I think you're right. That competitiveness definitely played a part when playing sports as a kid. So
yeah. And so then we try to find outlets for that competitiveness. I think that's kind of how it was for me with Rando. Is like I played sports when I was younger, and then I didn't really have like a way to be competitive in something like, because I did first person shooters with Counter-Strike, but I just never could be like good enough, because when you start getting into like the people that are really good at it, it's like I just didn't have like the dexterity. I couldn't, the reaction time, I just couldn't control as well as everyone else, and I could never really get there. So I was never able to really find a real way to be competitive. And so A Link to the Past for me was a big one.
I agree with you on that. I think it takes a certain kind of skill to know how to play first person shooters with all the intricate control schemes. Definitely.
And fighter games are the same way, where it's like there's some like, especially as like a lot of the fighter games become more combo heavy and reactionary, it's like, how do you counter move, and then how do you like, I watched Evo for the first time this last year, and I can't remember what game it was that they were playing, but it was like super intense. I was like, what the heck is going on? I couldn't even imagine ever trying to do this competitively, because I, like you, have that competitive nature where I'm like, I want to win and I'm just going to get smoked. I would just get smoked. So fighter games are tough.
Yeah. It's like, like you want to win, but can you? Probably not. And so you're like, oh, this sucks.
Right. So what's the point? Right. That's kind of how it is. Because I'm so competitive, it's like, what's the point? I've learned to tone that down a little bit, but it's still not quite the same. So moving into Rando, you saw that charity race. Was that Rando, or was that the vanilla game?
It was Rando. It was Link to the Past Rando. Because I saw them using like a Sonic sprite and maybe like a Final Fantasy sprite or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And this is early 2018?
Yeah, this is like May of 2018.
Okay.
And then soon after that, I looked up like randomizer races for Link to Past Rando, and I saw the Andy Christos race from the 2018 AGDQ, and that was what really sold me on Rando.
Right. I mean, that's a lot of people's origin stories, that race, because it was so big and monumental, and it was really cool to watch them play swordless too. Like, what the heck? This is nuts. But you didn't have that nostalgia for the game, right? Like,
no, this is all newfound.
So all new. So what was it about Link to the Past then for you that kind of drew you in?
So I knew that Zelda games had a pretty good reputation, and so I was like, I think Link to the Past probably is a pretty good game if I had to guess. And like, come to find out, that's actually like one of people's top rated games of all time. Like with if you'd ask them, you say, Link to the Past was one of my favorite games growing up. It was so fun to try and figure things out. And so learning how to play the game first was like, it was interesting, because I was like, wow, this is actually, man, I can't believe I didn't know about this growing up. Even like, I was born after the game came out, but like
right.
It was just like interesting to see that, wow, this game's really fun. I can't believe I didn't know about this. And randomizer probably even makes it even more fun, because it's a new experience every single time you play.
Little did you know, man. Little did you know.
Yeah. Here we are.
Right, so you start playing in 2018. Do you then, because again, the game is completely brand new to you, how's your introduction as far as playing it goes? Do you start looking up like guides? Do you start playing offline? Had you even streamed at this point?
No, I think I don't think I had ever streamed even up till this point. I did have an account on Twitch, but I never dabbled in streaming. And so I was just playing seeds to play them. And maybe I would look up a Twitch stream or something like that, or something like, I know what it was. I remember the spring 2018 tournament was going on at the time. And so I did watch Andy's run. And that was what inspired me to pick up the game, like first, like once and for all. Like I got hooked on watching it from the Christos Andy race, but watching that spring tournament was what inspired me to actually try and play it myself. And so then I looked into, what is there a Discord or something like that? Is there a community around this? And so 2018 fall tournament was the first tournament I entered. Definitely was a big scrub back then, and did the Challenge Cup tournament and lost in like second round of the bracket. So like, okay, I see where I stand right now, and this is what I'm gonna try and get better at. I'm gonna focus all my efforts on this, because this is actually around the same time I was still kind of in the Melee community, but once I started seeing it, like, this Link to Past thing, this has some potential. We'll stick with this. And so I basically dropped everything Smash Bros. Competitively related.
Are you practicing online? Are you practicing offline? What are you doing before even, or do you just jump right into the tournament stuff? Like, learning the game it does take a while.
It did, yeah. So I played a whole bunch, just offline. And I did a few races here and there. Like you'll see me on SRL, like some fall 2018 races, like September, October. But for the most part, I did try and play seeds and try to figure out how to route well and also improve my execution skills. Because like I'm sure most people had this issue, but like dying to bosses on harder difficulties was a big problem, and so that was a big hurdle to also get over. And I did finally get over that, like, within a year.
Sure. I remember my big one was Master Sword Ganon. I was just like so freaked out about fighting Ganon with the Master Sword that I just couldn't get over it.
Yeah, that one was big too. I think I did manage to get good at it, I think, within a year. And so I was not super scared about that. I think I was still scared about low percent boss fights like Blind or Mothula. But other than that, and Vitreous, but like other than that, I think I was mostly okay.
Yeah. So you entered the spring 2019 tournament. Is that what it was?
The fall 2018 tournament.
Oh, fall 2018. You don't qualify, but you joined the Challenge Cup, right?
Yeah, I joined the Challenge Cup, did the group stage. Yep.
How was that experience for you as your first sort of like competitive foray?
I think it was pretty fun. I wish that I could have gone further, but that was still when I was really bad at the game, and so I think it's totally understandable. I definitely was still learning a whole lot more at that time, and it was just a cool experience overall. Just learning how to play the game in a tournament setting, and seeing my skills already starting to grow a little bit. Soon after that, I entered that spoiler tournament in mid 2019, and then the Cross Keys tournament was like a real venture into, oh wow, this game can get really interesting.
Right. That Challenge Cup, was that the one with like wall kicks and a bunch of other people in it?
Yeah, I think who ended up winning that tournament? Yeah, it was like Chazame that ended up winning it, and Espeon, Frostbite, and like Awase were like top four. It's so funny when you look back at that tournament. It's like stacked now, but everyone was just kind of starting out at the time. So, they all didn't qualify for the main tournament. Now they're all, if a lot of them could continue to play, would still be like at the top of the game. Like I haven't seen Frostbite in a while, but like Wall Kicks and Walther and all those guys and yourself are all top tier runners. So yeah, it is funny to look back and think about that. You're right.
Did you kind of find a community to play with early on?
Early on, it took at least a year for me to really find a niche in a community or people to play with a bunch. And my first like buddy, I guess you could say, in the ALTTPR community was Edium. He was just on a whim. I was like, I think I saw people doing co-op races because they were practicing like league races, and he needed a practice partner. And so I asked him, and like he asked me if he wanted, or I forget how it went down, but either way,
sure. Yeah.
Either way, we started playing to get a little bit together, and so we kind of just kept playing with each other and doing co-ops and all that. And then because at the time it was him, Dante, and Sailor Nep on the same league team. Right. So he kind of got me introduced to the other two, Dante and Sailor Nep, and then we started we kind of just made that our own little friend group there. And then Dante had a few IRL friends he also added, and we kind of met a couple other people on the way that joined our group. But yeah, that was my upbringing in the rando community, so to speak, was Edium and then Dante and Sailor Nep. basically.
So the Titans Mitts, basically the version, like the Titans Mitts, an extended version of the Titans Mitts, because I think they were called originally the Titans Mitts. It was, like you said, Eddie M, Dante, and Sailor Nep, and then after a certain time, you joined the team in Eddie M's spot. So yeah,
right.
So so you didn't play the first league season, right?
I did not. No, I did not know anyone. At the time, I did not know anyone at all. Like I was just kind of playing for myself. I think I knew like maybe Gamachu, because actually way back then, when I was doing casual races on the side, it was like me, Gamachu, Alhado, and maybe some other people that were doing these like bigger races. I think you were involved too.
Probably, but yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, because you were in college at the time, right?
Yeah, I was finishing out college at the time.
So how did that affect your rando? Did it allow you to play more or play less because of having to do homework and do all that stuff?
It was actually me kind of finishing up like classes that I need to get my degree. So it actually was a lighter year in terms of what I needed to do to graduate.
Oh, perfect.
So it actually let me play more.
Right. That's awesome. So 2020 hits, you're now established part of the community, right? Well, actually, let me step back. 2019, I believe I'm trying to think. League season 1 was 2019, right?
Yeah, it was 2019 spring. Yep.
Right. And then so 2020 had seasons 2 and 3, I believe.
It had, both 2 and 3. And it also had like 2019 fall into early 2020. The main tournament was also happening.
Right. So
yeah, and that one I actually did pretty well in.
Okay. So how did that go?
Yeah, so that one I got, I think, like the second quartile of the qualifiers for the main tournament. Mm-hmm. And then the group stage, I had, I think it was Gamachu, Mr. Scruff, Ninja Tuna, and Compiling in my group. And I ended up getting second. I think I lost Gamachu twice, and that was my only losses. And so when I went to brackets, I faced Ravis first, and I beat him, and then I faced Bonta, and that was like, I think he was the number 1 seed coming out of qualifiers. He didn't end up being the number 1 seed overall into brackets, but I just remember like, oh gosh, I have to face Bonta now. This is like a true test right here. And I almost beat him. I was like 10 seconds or so away from beating him in game 3, but I just came up short.
But was it validating then? Like, because Bonta's really good at the game.
Yeah.
Or was it hard because you lost?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was definitely more, looking back, I think it was definitely more validating than it was heartbreaking.
Sure.
I was like thinking about it, like, wow, I nearly beat the number 1 qualifying seed, coming into the group stage. Wow. I think I'm starting to see my skill like has really improved the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I think I'm sticking with this.
Yeah, it's awesome. So you have that, and then season 2, you form a team for the league with GGW and Zero Rush, right?
Yeah, it was Gannon's Got Wild and Zero Rush. I reached out to both of them, and I think it was going to be someone else before I knew about Zero Rush not having his team anymore. But at first I reached out to Gannon's Gone Wild. We actually did 1 or 2 practices together that 2020, I think. And then I reached out to Zero Rush because I saw that, oh wait, maybe he's available, because I think his team didn't do that well the last season.
Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe he'll be interested in my team. I don't know. It's a long shot. We'll see what happens. And he agreed. So
yeah. So how did that first team up go with GGW and Zero Rush?
We did really well for ourselves. We got second in our division. We ended up losing a tiebreaker race to Zero Rush lost to Farame, so we ended up second in our division. But we basically the entire season we were neck and neck up at the top of our division, and then we lost to them in the second round of the playoffs.
I'm looking at your record for season 2, and it's win, 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 win. It's just all wins. Your first loss wasn't until the co-op against Farame and Kyong. It looks like it's probably Pilot or something. It looks like.
Yeah, I think it was spoiler pilot week that we lost.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you win your last two. You mentioned you lost so basically kind of rando retired. Farame, Kyung, and Superton Taylor basically had your guys' numbers that season.
Yeah, mainly Kyung, because he ended up, I think every race that he ran, he ended up beating us. And so that was just like, dang, Kyung is a beast. And that was
really
like,
is.
And yeah.
Yeah. But you got to be pretty happy. I mean, that's a hell of a season to go 13-1 in the regular season. And then, you ended up going to game 5 in division finals. Are you feeling like you're at the top of your game at this point because of the success you're starting to see?
Sorta. I think that because of the fact that we lost is still like, oh man, there's still these really good people at this game. And so, you're coming toe to toe with them. You're really testing your skill with this randomizer. It's not like I didn't think I had a shot. It's just I knew that, oh man, there's still like really good people at this game. Like I saw Arier doing his stuff. I saw Blaine, and I saw like the Lane, and I think weren't they all on a league team that season? I was like, oh my goodness, this is too
right.
stacked. Like who's gonna beat them? And
right, yeah. Season 3 happens. That's the invitational, and obviously you guys get an invite with the record that you have. Tell me about season 3. It looks like you had a couple more losses than the previous season.
So, and this is around the time when I think the randomizer community as a whole started to level the playing field a little bit. I think more and more people had been playing the game for maybe at least a year at this point. And for the most part, I think it was starting to lean towards more like anyone could win any given game. And this was when I started to see, okay, while I am good at the game, I think there is still room for luck to, throw a little wrench in there. And so lots of those games that season did not go our way. And so I was just like, okay, well, I don't think it's like a knock on our skill. It's just, that's just how things go. We still ended up making playoffs, which was really nice because we nearly didn't make them. We had to have things go our way the final week of the season, and things did go our way. And so I was kind of proud of, us sticking to it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the results, and this is always bananas to me. Week 7 versus last locationers. It means I think it's co-op endomizer tied.
Right.
You tied. Yep. Use your rush, tied Goomba and Illis in a co-op. That is bananas. Like ties are rare enough as they are 1-on-1, but you add teammates playing 4 people and you guys tied. It's just pretty bananas. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
that was, go ahead.
Yeah. So it looks like, again, you guys kind of had one team kind of bully you guys a little bit. Triple Dino Disaster started your season with 2 losses, and then they ended up ending your season going 0-3 in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually didn't think about that. How one team was our like kryptonite for both for 2 different seasons.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. When do you become a mod for the league? And then was that season 2?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was season 2. I remember popping into your chat randomly, and because you would put a call out for some mods or something like that. Like, I'm interested, and so I went to your chat, and you're like, yeah, can I heard you need some mods, and you're like, could I trust you though?
Did I say that?
Those
really?
were your words exactly. I remember.
That's awesome. Apparently, the answer was yes, because you modded season 2 and 3, right? Or I can't remember. When did you become an admin?
It was between season 2 and 3. I modded season 2.
Okay. And I remember how much work you put into season 2. Like not only could I trust you, but you were doing so much volunteering that season. I really remember you going all out. Do you remember being a mod that season?
Yeah, it's some of it's kind of fuzzy to me. It's been so long, and I feel like everything is the same when it comes to volunteering or being behind the scenes. But yes, I do remember kind of putting myself out there and pushing myself a little bit with the volunteer aspect.
Mm-hmm. Did you enjoy doing that?
Yeah, I think it kind of just like gave me a sense of, responsibility, outside my actual like job, in real life. But it was just kind of cool to be like both a participant and also like a helper in terms of like helping this community grow and helping things move smoothly. Yeah,
for sure. You were invaluable in that second season for sure. So season 3 comes. I'm starting to get bogged down as the league is growing way beyond anything I could have imagined. So I decided to add admins. Do you remember the call for you to become an admin, and what was your kind of feelings and thoughts about that?
Yeah, I remember Dante and I, have been really good friends for, I think now 3 years, at least 3 years. And so I just remember, I think you reached out to him first, and then he reached out to me saying, hey, let me know if if a big red name starts talking to you in DMs, because I think he knew that maybe that you were gonna reach out to me or something like that. And so sure enough, you reached out to me, and I was like, oh man, this is exciting. Do I do this? I after thinking about it, it really didn't take long, because I kind of wanted to have a bigger say and like be even more helpful than I already was. I said yes, so I was like, man, this is really cool.
Mm-hmm. I loved the admin team. I mean, I should correct that. I love the admin team. I loved the admin team that we kind of put together, though, that for season 3 and then extended it into season 4, I think with Amerith. I felt like we kind of had those battles, not necessarily internally, but with the community, and tried to put out the best product that we could with the league, and still have to deal with all the bullshit that comes along with it, right? And I felt like there was like a lot of camaraderie with the team that was put together.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, that was I think we were able to have good conversation there. Check up on each other. Making sure we're all still in this. We're all still sane. You're not losing pulling our hair out and all that.
Yeah, because season 2 was so hard, because we went from 16. Yeah, to 64 in from season 2 to season 1 to season 2. And it was like, what do we do with this? Like, how do we even manage it? And we ended up coming up with the Invitational and the Open, which kind of helped alleviate a lot of the trouble. But how has your experience gone being an admin, just from season 3 to now to season 5, and with one less admin in the admin channel?
I think it's gone pretty well. I'm sure you're definitely well aware of a lot of issues at least recently with that we've had to deal with. But other than that, I think for the most part it has gone pretty smoothly, and I'm thinking I'll stick with this for a good while. And
mm-hmm.
I miss you, Fear. I'll say this right now. Like I'm sad you decide to step down, but we can't thank you enough for at least I can't thank you enough. I'm sure it does feel the same, but I definitely can't thank you enough for putting together a league in the first place and really giving us something that we can really all enjoy and come together. And so I'm glad that you decided to pull me up on the admin team, and I'm gonna continue being a light, and I guess you could say, and helping people enjoy rando, and become better friends with each other and all that. So Thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess we could just end the interview right there, right? Just a compliment of me. I was really curious to see how the league went this year with me not being a part of any of it. Part of me is like, a very small part of me is like, oh, it's going to fall apart. But I'm so glad that it hasn't. I think you guys have done a great job. I'll give you shit for some of the things you've done, like the modes you guys chosen. But
of course you will.
But I do think you guys have done an excellent job of really maintaining the league and helping it grow into what it is and can be. So there's a huge sense of relief of like, oh, I can just enjoy playing the game and let those guys deal with all of it.
Anytime we can help you enjoy the game better. Yeah,
definitely. All right, so season 4, you jump ship from Big Boots, and you join your pals Sailor Nep and Dante in Titans Mitts, replacing Eddie M, who I think was ready to like step down from playing competitively.
Yeah.
How did season 4 go?
I feel like I don't have to speak too much about how the season went, because Yeah. So yeah, we ended up winning the whole league that year, that season, and so. For the longest time, I wanted to be a part of, like, be with on the same team as, Dante, Eddie, and Sailor Nep or whatever. But it was a teams of three thing. And so I couldn't be on their team. They wanted to keep playing league together. And so I came up with the GGW and Zero Rush for the time being. But then when Eddie was really starting to probably take a bit longer break from playing competitively, I said, hey, is it possible that I could maybe step in? And I think Dante reached out and said, yeah, I think we can probably arrange that. And so we made the call at that point that said, hey, if you want to join us, yeah, here's your offer. And so I said, yes, absolutely. And so I was like, yes, I can finally get to be on a league team with my best buds. And
right, which is
no offense to like GGW or Zero Rush, but like that I did want that, like, even before I knew, like, or I reached out to them for joining a league team. So this was something I'd wanted for a bit.
For sure. So you have a hell of a season. Again, you go through the schedule, win. And then again, this is the invitational. The first loss doesn't come until, again, week 6, looks like against Tam.
Yeah, that was me.
You're right. But obviously making the playoffs with that record, actually sticking it till I like Big Boots in the final week too, getting 2 wins off of them.
Oh yeah, I didn't even play that week. That was Stanty and Nep.
Oh right, yeah, that's right. So you go through Shaq Tool's digging game. Did you check your boots in the conference semifinals? You come up against the Skull Kids. We don't have to go deep into it, obviously, but shit happens. How are you feeling about the free win, I guess, in game 5 and not playing game 5?
I didn't want that to go down like it did. I'm sure a lot of people would have felt the same. I'm really sad that was how it ended. It's not that I don't think that Nep deserved to win, but I think she was within her right to refuse, like, to do a rematch. From how I understood it, I think she was unable to play another game. I think she had to just take that win, which if I was in her shoes, I would have felt really bad about it myself. But I don't know how to feel. Like if I would have made the exact same call she did, it's tough. It's tough when that happens.
Right. You have a couple different perspectives that I'm kind of curious to hear about. 1, you're on the team. 2, it's not your race, but it's still involving your team. And 3, you're an admin for the league. So there's like all these different balls you're trying to juggle with it, right? Like how do you juggle it?
Yeah, and that's what I was really losing a bit of sleep over, just because I'm in this really tangled web right here. I just said to myself, if this is how, like, the league comes crashing down, then this is gonna be really sad. But I mean, thankfully it didn't. At the same time, though, it was just not a fun situation to be in. And
sure,
but the point that I'm trying to say is, like, you guys definitely deserve to win just as much as we did. Like, but I'm just really sad that it had to end that kind of way. And if I could take it back, I would. But that was just how things transpired, and it was just like, man, I'm just like, oh man, I can't believe this is really happening right now.
I mean, it's a tough situation for everyone, right? Like, there's no easy answers. There's not even like a correct answer. It's everyone just trying to do what they think is best. And I mean, it broke me, so I wasn't even on the team. So I can imagine for you and Dante and everyone else that it's like, it's tough. It's just tough, right? Like, it's just stuff you don't really want to deal with when you're trying to play a video game for fun. But that's kind of the thing you got to do when you're in charge, is have to, kind of have to deal with it. Yeah. So you go to the finals and you guys crush Pug Trio, League Champs Season 4. Again, more validation for you?
Yeah, at that point, I was thinking, yeah, this is why I love Rando. This is I did the competitive side of me is really enjoying this whenever I can pull out big wins like that, and having won SGL and then have now won the league. I was like, man, this is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So SGL, let's talk about that, because before we get to the live one, there was the online one that we had that was due to COVID, obviously. So they had plans for SGL. Did you go to 2019?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Were you planning on going to 2020?
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing it, but we had already pretty much well knew in advance that it wasn't going to happen once COVID rolled around, so I didn't really make any plans.
Sure. So you and I actually got paired up in that mode. What mode was it? Was that the standard, hard standard?
No, this one was like open boots.
Open boots, okay. And that was one of my most memorable races because I'm racing against you. I know that you're good. I know that, let's be honest, you're better than I am execution wise. And we had cams on because that was one of the requirements. And we end in the closest race that I feel like I've ever had. Right? Was that a tie? I don't even remember at this point.
No, I think at that point they implemented a different way of doing ties. I think at that point we were using race time GG, and they were saying that no, we're not going to call things ties unless a reasonable person cannot tell who the difference between who won and who lost. And so you were given the win. I think you won by 2 seconds or something like that.
Hell yeah. That was so much fun because again, we had cams, which is not something that normally happens on these restream races. And you see my reaction. I remember how much I was sweating, in that final match, the final moments of that seed. And I hit the done, and immediately you hit the done, and both of our faces are just like, oh, it was so good. It was so good. I believe those were like the qualifiers or something, though. I can't remember. Or maybe the group stage or something.
It was group stage.
Yeah. So I get the win there. Then I get smoked in the next stage was. And you end up going and winning the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about that experience and playing for money and playing on cam and everything that kind of goes along with all of that stuff.
Okay. So that one was just like, I think that one, like, despite, even though I won ALTTPR League, like that, I still think that one will go down for me, at least in my memory, as like one of the coolest things that I've done competitive gaming wise. And just being able to, so how it went down for me was whenever we did the group stage, I lost to you and then I lost to Tepidino. And then so I was like thinking to myself, oh gosh, I don't know if I can make out of groups now because I had to have things go my way. And so I ended up beating both my last two opponents, and the scenario worked out in which there was a tiebreaker race between me, Tepidino, and Kern. And so I won that race. And so I made it onto the group stage. Yeah. So I was like, yes, okay. I actually ended up moving on. So everything from here on is bonus, in my opinion. If I can
sure
make it out of the depths of hell, whatever happens at this point. So bracket stage rolls around, and I face Mentos Man, who's now Penny Royal Oil, and then Plasma Kappa, and then beating Plasma Kappa was what put me in the money. So like, oh wow, I actually won money from this. Heck yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we did that, and then Aussie was next, and then GFE, and then Gem. And so it just the wins just kept coming. I was like, this has got to stop, right? That's how that works, right? And so, but no, right. I just pulled it all the way through and won the whole tournament. And I was like, goodness gracious, I'm playing out of my mind.
Yeah, it's so awesome. And when you list all those names that you had to go through, it's not like those are free wins, right? That's like a murderer's row of names you got to play. Yeah. So then we come to this past year, Speed Gaming Live. You're there in person. Tell me about your experience with Speed Gaming Live in person, and then again, running the gauntlet.
Oh man, I was super excited to be there in person, just to be able to, meet all the friends that I've made over the past couple of years online. I mean, online in real life.
Right.
And so that was the big reason I wanted to go. And so that was the big fun of it. And then I didn't have any expectations about the tournament itself, but I still played my best to try and win. And the wins just kept coming. I didn't drop a single game in that tournament. And that was possibly even more mind boggling than the other SGL that I won. And so, take your pick. Like, what do you think is crazier? Coming back from the depths of hell or not dropping a single game in a live tournament?
Right. Yeah. Also, and this is something that is unlike anything else that we do, it's over a weekend, basically, right? You're playing a shit ton of rando in a short span against a lot of really good runners. Did you find that to be different?
Yes, absolutely. The shorter time span for one, but the second is the IRL aspect. There's just so much you can figure out things unintentionally or intentionally about just even like they try noise help you with like noise canceling white noise and stuff like that, and like where and they position yourselves where you're sitting. But out of the corners of my eyes and even through the white noise, I can hear things, I can see things. It's just like, okay, I'm like, I probably wasn't first to find this important item, or I was like, I was the first to find this. No, shoot, Dante is hovering. Is he at Moldorm too? Did I just lose to Dante?
Dante pulling out the big guns, man. He went with the tank top against you, right? Like, was he trying to intimidate you? Obviously, it didn't work. That was one of the most fun matches to watch. Was you versus Dante.
It was all good fun, but he tore. You probably weren't able to see this too well on the restream because it didn't have the camera angles right. But there were these little cards with these items from Link to the Past, and like you could just put them in your pocket, almost like business cards. But they had like items, and so he got one with the Titan's mitts on it, and right before we did our race on the stage, he tore it up in front of me.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh man!
So you've won. You're one of the few people to win actual cash for playing this game. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, does that even, again, this sort of like idea that you even need validation, but does that help validate you as a runner?
It does, yes, but at the same time, I think you're right. You said I don't think I needed it at that point. Like I'd already done other cool things with the game at that point. I had won other tournaments. So I didn't need it, but it was still cool. It's still a cool feeling to win a tournament like that.
Yeah. Gosh, time goes by so fast when we're doing this. I need to ask about NMG before we get close to wrapping it up. When do you kind of make the plunge into NMG and this past year, especially, your times have just dropped like a rock. It's incredible to watch. So kind of tell me about your experience getting into it and then the grind.
Yeah, sure thing. So I actually had entered an NMG tournament just because I was curious about like how the run worked and all that. This was, I think, was it 2021? I think it was just right whenever it became 2021. There was an NMG tournament, and I had barely done runs at all. And throughout the entire tournament, I did not really practice, honestly. So I kind of learned the route at that point, but I didn't know how to like the finer points of NMG, like how to play it and how to react to RNG and how to manage your resources. So I just kind of did that one, just kind of for fun, really. I ended up winning a few races. I probably wasn't favored to win, so that was kind of cool. But at the same time, didn't really do much practice outside of that. Later that year, though, November 2021. That was over a year ago. At this point, good night. Shoot. So there was this 30th anniversary NMG race for Link to the Past that was going on, and I decided to enter it just on a whim, just because I was like, why not? Yeah, I like Rando. I like this game. Why not? Let's just enter it. And I got a 129. So that was my first sub 130. And so I was like, that was, I guess not to like sound like, big headed or anything, but that wasn't that hard to get a sub 130. Wonder if I could do better. So I was like, okay, how am I going to get better? There's the FMG tutorial. Why don't we start with that? And so I watched the entire FMG tutorial series on NMG and slowly but surely became like more aware of what I was doing wrong and how to do better. And so from there, I got my 127, and then I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and now here I am today with a 124. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, this is really cool. And so I'm still playing NMG. Like today, I did both NMG leagues, like one during the summer and one that just finished a bit ago. And so I'm thinking I'm gonna stick with it too. I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna stop grinding it, because I think I do maybe want to go for a 123.
Yeah.
But yeah, NMG, it's been fun to try and learn how to play and improve my skills even more.
Are you the type of person in your real life that when you set your sights on something, you accomplish it? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like you are, when it comes to Rando specifically, you're like, I'm going to do this. And by God, you do it. You like I'm going to try to, I'm going to win the league. I'm going to try to win these tournaments. I'm going to try to get a 124 or whatever. Like, you do it. Like, is that who you are, Relkin?
Man, sometimes I don't know. Like, I feel like with certain things, yes, but with some other things, no. I feel like when it comes to video games, I think yes, just because they're so fun to play, dude. But but if I think if I really did put in a lot of effort, I could probably accomplish a lot of things in life. But video games is just like the easiest thing for me to try and really pour my heart and soul into and do better at. And it's more of like a hobby thing versus like is this bettering me as a person? No, it's just bettering me as a gamer.
But do you find that it gives you a sense of fulfillment though? Like what doing NMG for a lot of runners, myself included, almost feels like a grind. Like I don't necessarily enjoy that grind. So it kind of becomes less fun to an extent. Like I do enjoy an NMG, but I'm just not a grinder. So do you find that sort of like fulfillment out of the game, even though it's others would consider it a grind, whether it be rando or NMG?
I think eventually, yes, I do get fulfillment out of it. But leading up to getting that 124 or whatever it was I was trying to get towards, it was definitely like, oh man, I'm getting close, but I can't finish it out or something like that. It can be frustrating at times. So you can't ignore that aspect of trying to grind a speed run. So I think yes, 100%. There is a sense of this is just a grind. Oh gosh, when will it be over? But there is definitely a sense of accomplishment once I reach the goal.
Sweet. All right, tilt question time. Now, Relkin, I've known you for a long time. I'm not putting you on blast, but tilt is not something that you've handled well in the past. You and I have had conversations privately about
you are
some
correct.
of it. So have you found ways to correct it? Have you found a way to approach it? Or is it something that you feel is going to just be something that you have to deal with on a case-by-case basis? How do you deal with tilt?
All right. So I like it. Like you're saying, no, I am not. If you were to ask people like who do you think is good at bottling, like keeping things cool, keeping with level head, they probably wouldn't say me. And you're probably right. I struggle with that, and I don't think I will. Here's what I will say. I do think I can find outlets to try and not look like a total stupid head, doing losing my mind and text chats and all that. Or on stream or whatever. But I think I've learned that maybe instead of doing it in public, just try and do it in private, like maybe vent to a friend or something like that. And maybe that'll help it. At least you're not bottling it up, but you're letting it out some way. But you're not doing it, to the person in question. Cause so I think I am learning that is probably a better avenue of dealing with tilt versus, just doing the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm a very reactionary person when it comes to that. And I think I have learned to start doing that more. So I think, yes, but you are correct. I think I do have issues when it comes to dealing with tilt. And so, but like I said, I'm dealing with it, I think, better now than I was. Right.
And I'm not calling you out because I'm trying to be mean, right? Like,
no, it's fine.
Like you mentioned, you know that you've had trouble dealing with it. I think the important thing is to remember is like, yeah, it's okay to be pissed off, right? Like being pissed that you lost or that you made a mistake or whatever is fine. It's finding that outlet, right? It's finding a way to let it out that's a bit more healthy, I think, is your path.
Yeah. And so I think, you're right. And I do get upset with myself or whatever whenever I lose in some way. I find it impossible to not feel that way when I lose. Sure. It's just like you said, finding the right way to deal with it. Is what's really going to help, ease your mind or make things
like you said, finding a safe space for you to like vent it out is a great way of handling tilt so that you're not tilting other people, right? Like that's the hard part is like a lot of times it's easy to be like pissed and then just take it out on the person that you lost to, but that's not cool. So
no,
dude, thank you so much for doing this, for completing the admin portion of the league for me. And sorry it took so long, but I'm super glad that we get to kick off 2023 with you, man.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. This is great. I'm glad this is becoming a kind of a thing for this community. I think we needed this for a while, and I did listen to the Blaine episode. I agree with him on this. I think this is something that we've needed, and once again, I'm thankful for you, Fear, and doing stuff like this to make things interesting around here.
Really great conversation with Relkin. Really appreciate having him on the show. Was really glad that he was open and honest about some of the things that have gone on, whether it was the league season 4 or whether it's a struggle with tilt or whatever. Loved hearing his perspective on winning things as well. Big shout outs to Relkin for being on the show. Really glad we were able to get all of the admins on the show in the first 3 seasons of 216. All right, so that's going to do it for the show for this season. You can join the Discord. 216pod.com has the link to the Discord. I'll still be around there for the most part. League is wrapping up. I know there's about 8 teams left in the open, and they're vying for a spot for next year's invitational. There's 5 teams left in the invitational, my team being one of them. So those races should be on Speed Gaming. So the league Discord and the league website will have all the information for that, so check those out. Appreciate everyone listening to the show. I really do. If you're struggling mentally or you need someone to talk to, you can always shoot me up in the DMs. My recommendation would be to talk to someone professionally. That really helps me out a lot, though, as well. Hope everyone has a good 2023. I hope there's a lot of positivity in the rando community in 2023. I expect there to be a lot of change, to be honest. I think things are going to change in 2023. Appreciate you all, and thanks for listening.